Have you failed at anything in your life? Great, then this podcast is for you. Welcome everyone to Brody Vlog. This is the Elevate from Failure podcast. I'm with Alicia Fuentes. Glad to have you on because this is a very special episode. As many of you know, or unfortunately have been experiencing an economic crisis. And then in the US in particular, there are a lot of layoffs uh, concerning diversity, equity, and inclusion, but just kind of in general with the growth of AI. It's a scary time. A lot of people will be applying for unemployment kind of across the board. In the UK, it's called universal credit, I think. But yeah, it's a scary time, but kind of maybe similar to 2020. We were all scared, but then a lot of us
Mhm.
kind of with the nature of wanting to survive, we thought, oh, let's start a business. Let's do something that I've been putting off because I've had a 9 to 5. And now that I have the time, I can do something that I'm passionate about and, either pursue the arts or something or start a business. So Alicia, if you would like to blog about your business, talk about what you provide, and then we'll go over this topic. And also, we will kind of branch into owning your feminine power and
Yes, thank you so much for the opportunity. I am very excited to have this conversation, this discussion here. So as you can see from my Zoom background, I'm all about feminine leadership. So I am a feminine leadership coach who works with women in leadership, who are looking to really break free from the traditional masculine leadership models and embrace their feminine power in order that they can lead now with confidence, with ease, and with authenticity. So it's been quite an invigorating process for me. And it's interesting that, as you mentioned about the job loss, my journey into coaching actually started as a result of job loss. So at the time, of course, I would never have really envisaged this. I would never have felt that out of something that was so traumatic for me, a beautiful journey would have evolved and actually a career now that is really purpose driven can arise out of that. So when I started this journey itself, I was dealing primarily with women who were suffering in my term, I call it redundancy. So it is essentially job loss, and even those who would have left with intention, as you mentioned, right? Um, that has evolved. I'm still getting some ladies who are going through that. And I have a signature program that is called Revalidation Power Shift. And that takes them through that process. I can go into more details of that program as we go through the session. But the second program is really feminine leadership. It's called Unlock Your Power, Your Leadership, Your Feminine Leadership Awakening. So it's for those women who are in leadership already and they're experiencing, the ebbs and flows within that journey. Um, my process right now is based on one-to-one coaching because I truly love the ability to have that intimate type of journey with the individual. At some point, I obviously will not have the bandwidth for one-to-one, and I will pivot to group coaching. But for now, I'm enjoying having that time with ladies, and really getting to know them and help them through their journey.
I think that's so interesting that your journey started from leaving a kind of 9 to 5 type of thing, and
Mhm.
then something beautiful stemmed from that. So congratulations on that. And I love that you mentioned that you really enjoy the one-on-one because we all have like goals that we need to do. We all have a life to finance, unfortunately, in this world. But to
True.
find joy in that, to be like, okay, I really love just connecting with people, helping them on that one-to-one basis. I think that's a beautiful thing. That's something that I enjoy as well. So with
Mhm.
the economic climate that we're in, with the growth of AI, and knowing that it sucks. It sucks to lose your job, to lose it either to somebody younger, because I'm seeing that a lot as well,
Yes.
or to lose it to AI, to lose it to because of what you stand for, what the company that you're working for stands for. So if you want to kind of shed light on that, maybe talk about your experience a little bit.
If you are tuning into this podcast episode, chances are you are a busy person. If you are tired of the same old dinners, then try making Spanish tapas the authentic way with Chef Delgado's masterclass. The link in the description box below will give you lifetime access to a step-by-step course with 9 video classes. I've taken this course myself and I've wowed friends and family with delicious shareable tapas. Thank you, Chef Delgado, for sponsoring this podcast, and I hope you enjoy this episode.
So definitely losing your job, losing that income especially, can be very traumatic. At the point in time, you don't see anything positive coming out of that. You're just going through trying to figure out, where did you go wrong? Especially if it's coming from a space where you've been with the organization for quite a long while and you've truly invested in that. It makes you think that you are no longer valuable.
Mm.
Um, Maybe you weren't delivering in a way and you start to question, your worth. But interestingly for me, I started to experience the shift even before all of this happened. Like, look, when they told me that they were restructuring, it came out of nowhere.
Mhm.
Um, there had been a transition from one manager to another. I had an idea that there was going to be some level of restructure, but it was never expressed that I would be impacted. As a manager in the team,
Mhm.
the conversation was around the people in the team. So when it happened, it really blew me out of the woods. And the feeling of a lost, losing your identity, I believe is probably the first hit. And
Mhm.
I can understand that people who are going through this are going to start asking, well, who am I without the job title, without the actual job? When you try to describe yourself, especially if you're very much a high performing individual,
Mhm.
your life has revolved around the organization and who you are and what you do. So when that is stripped, you start to think, well, how do I describe myself now? So for me,
Yeah.
it's like I forgot the fact that I was a wife, that I was a daughter, that I was a sister, that I was the mother of a fur baby. I forgot those things. Those were like secondary to me. All,
Yeah.
strangely enough, it makes me realize now I was actually taking those things for granted.
Mhm.
And all I was this manager in this oil and gas major. And with that gone, um, I would share an example. I was looking at a movie directly after it had happened, and in the movie, let's call it the logo or the emblem of that oil and gas company was showing in the movie, and I just burst out in tears, because I just could not believe I was no longer there. Um, so a person's identity is impacted. And with that comes the self-worth. So you now begin doubting yourself. You think, I'm not good enough. I must have done something wrong. Then you start to go through resentment because you now see you become the victim and you have this pity party and you're blaming everybody else. The boss never liked me. The people there, had an issue with me. They never saw my value.
Mhm.
And as you go through that emotional journey, you also recognize, well, reality hits home. What do I do next? Am I going back into corporate? Or am I going to say, you know what? I want to be the CEO of my life. So I'm going to do my own thing. I don't have to answer to anybody. And I just want to say to those who are in that situation now to embrace all aspects of that grief. It's a grieving process and you have to embrace it. If you try to hide from it, it's just going to make things worse.
Mhm.
The key, though, is to not stay stuck for too long. If you allow yourself to have that pity party for too long, it's going to be extremely difficult to snap out of it. So experience the emotions, don't hide them. Experience. If you have to cry, if you have to have a cuss out, if you just have to shout, close the
Yeah.
door and shout,
Yeah, like use the pillow, like
Yes, and that is
honestly, like
actually
'cause-
what I just thought. I'm
yeah,
like, if you need to shout into the pillow, do it.
yeah,
Get it out. Let the tears flow. I remember one day, I was there in the washroom, I was brushing my teeth. And before I knew it, I was on the ground crying, just crying, like literally bawling,
yeah.
you know, because it was a debt. It was a debt in my life. We have to do that. We have to experience it. But depending on where individuals are in their own journey in life, if they've built up the resilience, they can come out of this fairly quickly. If they have not, what I would suggest to people really is to take that time to spend with yourself. Don't have that reflex action of just jumping in and, let's say jumping onto LinkedIn and applying for everything that you
Mhm.
see, which I did. I did. And all that did to me was make me feel worse because the rejections came every day.
Yeah, it's like that desperation. And I feel like give off that energy, even digitally.
Yes.
I mean, and I feel that way with like my content and things. Like if I'm desperate for
Yes.
something, it makes it worse. But then when I rediscover my worth and kind of say, okay, what is for me will come for me. And of course, I pray whatever kind of high
Yes.
power. Yeah, doing the opposite of that kind of desperation mode, and that helps. But then, like to get to that point where you're like, I don't need to like just be applying for a bunch of stuff or like hustling and not sleeping.
That
So
is wonderfully said. I'm so happy that you've recognized that as well. A lot of people talk about the law of attraction, and as you mentioned, the energy there, whoever you are connected with, your source, it could be God, it could be Allah, it could be, whoever it is that you're speaking to, that connection, there must be that alignment. And if you are putting out negative energy, if you're coming from that place of scarcity, desperation, as you said, that is what is going to be attracted to you. So you are going to have, all the rejections in terms of every company. You're asking yourself, but like I did, 28 years experience. How is it I can't get an interview? Why is it that I'm even going into an interview and I believe I'm showing up so well and then I get turned down?